Hello and good afternoon or night or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to a very special edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts today, and I'm being joined by Fuzzy Belvedere. Of course, I am Mr. BoomStick XL. Didn't expect to do a podcast today, to be quite honest, but the news broke yesterday. Actually, two big giant pieces of news, one of which Saudi Arabia was one of the first regulatory bodies to approve the ABK deal. And that is a big deal for a monster reason that our good friend Fuzzy Belvedere is going to break down for us, ladies and gentlemen. And also, we had a very auspicious tweet come from a very known leaker of Xbox store information, where it was simply nothing was said, but a picture said Ubisoft Plus, and that was the assumption that it is in fact going to come officially to Xbox Game Pass and potentially be announced at Gamescom, which is starting this week. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Fuzzy Belvedere, one half of Breakfast with Boom for sure. How you doing, Fuzzy? Welcome back.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. And man, a lot of interesting news starting up the early part of this week. Well, actually, yesterday, but man, oh man, I can't wait to get into some of these. The topic of, the ABK deal possibly coming closer to a close. So yeah, this is some exciting times right now. Awesome. Awesome to be here with you to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you being here. I mean, listen, we're only a minute and 51 seconds in, and folks, we already have 120 people here, which is awesome. I want to say a big thank you for being here, being a part of this very impromptu special edition Xbox Factor podcast. Of course, the schedule for the remainder of the week is going to be your regular standard Xbox Factor podcast tomorrow, where we're going to have two guests. Frame a Game, I think you might have seen them on Twitter. I've actually have a piece of their work, and I'm purchasing a second one. They have exploded on the scene. They're going to be joining us, and I Still Reign will be joining the fray to talk about a lot of what's going on in Xbox land, but more specifically, one of the major topics of conversation for tomorrow is going to be the relationship that Phil Spencer currently has with the head of Embracer Group and how they can use Embracer to their advantage the same way that Sony has used Square Enix. Yeah, put that in your thought cap for a second. Think about that. Tomb Raider I'm going to be honest with you folks, I say it all the time, I was expecting that to become first party. And Embracer Group stepped in and bought two monster AAA developers in, of course, Crystal Dynamics, who's currently working on the new Perfect Dark, and Eidos Montreal, and they have the chops to deliver a AAA experience, especially when you start talking about Tomb Raider. And guess what, folks? Why shouldn't Xbox lock up the next Tomb Raider for 2 years? Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they drop the bag to Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix when they had made that deal a couple of years ago for Rise of the Tomb Raider? And of course, we know what happened with them. They were lambasted by the media who, of course, cheered on Final Fantasy VII not coming to Xbox, but they loathed Microsoft, specifically Phil Spencer and company, for locking up that deal. It's funny how things do seem to be two-sided, so to speak. And I'm hoping that Phil Spencer and the relationship that they have built with Embracer really does come to the forefront of them doing some things in the regards of, locking up a few IPs, even if they're timed exclusive. I think Microsoft should use that to their advantage. And we'll talk more specifically on what the guys at Living Split Screen talked about this Saturday. So obviously, Pong Soul was a part of that conversation, right along with I Still Reign, which is why we're going to be glad to have at least one half of that. I don't know if Pong's going to make it. He hasn't gotten back to me. He might have to work, but we're still going to get into it heavily. And listen, the rest of the week is all set up. We have your primetime gaming Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm doing, of course, X Vlog live, and I'm still kind of waiting on who the guest is going to be. It might be Riskit from the Biscuit, obviously, because last week I had to cancel because of a family emergency. We're going to see if we can get him on. And of course, Friday mornings, Breakfast with Boom, we're going to be breaking down all of the big news from, of course, Gamescom 2022. And quite frankly, there's going to be a ton of it. But what are we here for? 225 people in. You folks are here to talk about, obviously, the ABK deal. And listen, there has been no bigger story than the ABK deal, which is, of course, Microsoft's announcement early in January to acquire Activision Blizzard King. Obviously, I don't think it's a story that no one has heard of unless you've lived on a desert island and you just got rescued. And here you are. You're here in the podcast and you're like, wow, I can't believe that's going to happen. Well, folks, the dominoes have started to fall in the form of Saudi Arabia being one of the first regulatory bodies to approve the deal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the footage for a hot second because I want to share the screen. Okay. That's the music. Wrong one. Here we go. Let me share the screen, folks, so you guys and the gals can see exactly what I'm seeing in the form of Saudi, the story I pulled from VGC. I'm going to bring that up for you right now so you can turn around and take a look at it as well. Let me just blow that up on the screen. Let's see. Hold on just a second. I want you to take a look at what I'm seeing here in front of me. It says here, now this was from videogameschronicles.com. This was posted by Andy Robertson. Obviously, if you don't know who Andy is, he is the head of that publication. And quite frankly, one of my favorite places to get news. This posted just before noon yesterday. And the story broke yesterday, but this article is from today. And this is what they have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Saudi Arabia is the first regulatory authority to approve Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal. Saudi Arabia's General Authority for Competition declared on Sunday that it has no objection to the acquisition. Now, according to the article, as you see in front of you, Saudi Arabia appears to be the first regulatory authority to approve Microsoft's proposed $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision, Blizzard, and King. And obviously, Twitter sleuth and detective of them all, Clobriel, actually had put this up yesterday. And of course, everyone in the community went absolutely bonkers. You know what? Let's bring you back into the conversation. Let me start up that footage from Call of Duty. Look, this is a big deal, but I don't think everyone understands, Fuzzy, how big of a deal this actually is. And we were talking in the green room, and you had a lot of things to say that actually I didn't even know about. Why don't you break that down? Why is this a big deal? Why should Xbox gamers be happy to hear that this has happened? Who is Saudi Arabia? You know, where are they on the importance level of these deals? Break that down for us.
Well, Saudi Arabia has kind of like a strict viewpoint on when it comes to competitive practices and things like that. So they're going to review contracts rather thoroughly to make sure for their citizens that their consumer protection is in an order. Saudi Arabia is also an area that recognizes gaming as a very big future business potential as far as the growth and the revenue that can be earned, as well as future careers and things. There's kind of like a big push for this by 2030 in gaming, where they'll have, and it also expands across other technologies, but gaming being a kind of a main focus to some extent. They are looking to have more people in the gaming business, whether it be programming or some of the technologies as far as cloud stuff that pertains to gaming. So they're kind of taking the same approach to gaming, and much like South Korea has recently, where that there's a big mobile gaming scene there as well, where they kind of take it seriously that gaming is a good or an accepted form of entertainment, and Saudi Arabia is taking that same approach. So with them kind of giving this kind of like thumbs up, or saying we're not going to object to it, basically kind of saying, yeah, go ahead. It's it meets what we call our standards of approval and things like that, they're probably one of the harder ones on the list that's left right now. And I have a feeling you'll probably see South Korea, who's a little bit past their deadline at this point, and a few others probably, it'll be like dominoes. They'll start to say that there's no contestment of this agreement or this acquisition. So them being one of the first ones to kind of, sign, not really sign off, but, let them know that they don't see any problems with this, is going to be, telling how many others follow suit here very shortly.
Well, I mean, look, let's break this down, and obviously, it's safe to assume, right, that in business, as a clock, it's right twice a day, even if it's a broken clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can expect that this is not going to be the first nor the last.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I saw many people in the chat, and by the way, we got over 300 people here. Of course, I want to say, please hit the like button, number one. And number two, if you are new finding the channel, we just crossed 11,000 subscribers live on the air, as a matter of fact, on this past Friday's Breakfast with Boom. And of course, the goal for Mrs. Boom and I is to hit 12K. That would be the monster goal for the year. And we're close. Obviously, I think we're at 11,020. So listen, every sub counts. If you're new and you're finding the channel, please consider subscribing. But listen, Fuzzy, what's important about what's in front of us right now on many levels is exactly what you just depicted. Saudi Arabia does have a very stout and stringent, if you will, process of approving these big deals. And they have done that. They have officially announced that they have no objection with the deal. Not to get too ahead of ourselves here. The deal isn't done. There are a lot of people in the chat that still think that this is not going to be done until October. There was rumors, folks. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about it on a special edition Xbox Factor, just like this, that there was a chance, and there were rumors that it could could get done by the end of August. Now, it's unlikely by the end of August because, well, we're almost at the end of August. But here's the thing. September is a couple of weeks away. And, I know that there was original talk where November seemed like that might be the deal. That's a long time. That's a long time from now. And I understand, look, the reality with this deal is there are a ton of moving parts. There is a lot going on with this ABK deal, but the importance of Saudi Arabia being the first to say it's okay seems like it's going to set up a domino effect where most regulatory bodies are going to follow suit. And usually what happens is once one approves, unless there is any new evidence that suggests that this is going to be a monopoly or they're going to somehow go from place 63rd to first, and Sony's not going to be market leader anymore immediately, then there's no room to challenge the deal. Now, getting back to what I just said seconds ago, the reality is that Sony is not going to be market leader once this deal is done. That's a fact. I don't know if you agree with me, you disagree. Look, their first-party games, they are legit AAA bombs. They deserve to be a part of the conversation, but that conversation for a lot of people have gotten old over the years. And they cannot crank out these $500 million projects quicker than 4 and 5 years, sometimes even 6 years. This is why they're working on these games as a service, or gas games as they're known, 10 of them to be exact. We have a suspicion that some of those games are going to be returning franchises, which I hope. One of them, which would be a great challenge to Call of Duty, would be SOCOM.
Yes.
If they could return to the great era of SOCOM with a AAA budget and a AAA developer, I'm not saying it's going to beat Call of Duty, but it's certainly going to give it a run for its money, specifically in the area of multiplayer, which is something that a lot of people have been asking Sony to do, which is why they went out and they purchased Bungie to kind of help with this. Because Bungie, we know obviously through Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 that they are really good at setting up these gas games, and I think they're going to use them to their advantage. But look, Fuzzy, the thing is this. I'm interested to think, in your opinion. Again, we're just speculating, folks. We're just
Mhm.
a couple of guys hanging out on a Monday afternoon. Who do you think drops the gauntlet next?
Hmm. I would like for it to be South Korea because they're already past. I think they were supposed to, or it was believed that they were supposed to make some sort of either announcement or at least wave it off as we're not going to object. I think around the end of July. Um, so they're probably almost about 30 days, or getting close to about the 30-day past the them to say, hey, we need more info or more time or something like that. But I'm hoping South Korea is the next one. But in all honesty, at this point, I think also the US is also at that point where about midpoint this month, which we're already past kind of. Um, they should have either said we need more info or kind of like, yeah, we're not going to contest this. Now I don't know if they're looking to do some political theater stuff later with Khan being about challenging these big tech companies, but I would love for the US to kind of at least say, yeah, we're not going to contest this, and it can move on to the EU, which I guess for them I think September is like where they will probably say yay or nay. Well, not really yay or nay, but like, hey, we need more info or we
Yeah,
need more things to look at, or you know what, we're not going to contest it. So September-ish for them, but South Korea is one of the ones, because that will kind of create a domino effect for some of the smaller nations and things, and then the U.S. will be the pretty much the big one. Once they kind of get out of the way, I guess, of this deal, then from there it falls on the EU, and I don't think the EU is going to say things more different or any differently, especially considering one of the named competitors is going through a lawsuit right now for some other reasons. But that's a
a
whole nother story.
£5 billion
Yes.
lawsuit,
Yeah.
which is
So
for robbing its consumers. We're not going to get into that. I think what we're going to wind up saving that is because that is a monster topic on its own. I mean, I woke up this morning to 9 DMs, which
mhm.
of course I want to thank everybody that reached out to me, and every DM that I opened had exactly that. It's like, wow, Sony's being sued for £5 billion
Yeah.
for taking advantage of their customers for years. So yeah, that's ouch. Listen, folks. I'm glad that I'm doing the share the screen thing. I've seen a lot of people do it, so now I'm going to start using it to my advantage. I have a picture here, folks, and why I want to bring up that picture is because obviously one of the leading stories for Friday's Breakfast with Boom, which if you missed it, man, that was a great show. We specifically talked about the announcement that Embracer Group has purchased more studios, and of course the rights for gaming for Lords of the Ring. That's a big deal. Lord of the Ring and Hobbit.
Mhm.
But what was interesting was the confirmation that they currently own 120 studios. Now, I just want to bring up for shits and giggles to have this conversation because I know you had mentioned Lena Khan, who obviously
Mhm.
is the head of the FTC, and she wants to make a name for herself. She has a bit of a, pardon my French, hard on for big tech companies,
Mhm.
though I don't think that Microsoft per se is in her sights. I think Apple is like that. I think Google and Amazon
Mhm.
are the ones that are potentially in her crosshairs. Microsoft has a lot of government contracts. They just signed a multi-billion-dollar contract for the U.S. military. So I don't think that there is going to be any real. I mean, she's going to show that she's not giving them favoritism, and I would imagine that's probably why they're kind of dragging their heels a bit. But I'm going to pause the footage. And I'm going to bring up this picture, folks, and it's a pretty telling picture. Let me see here. Share the screen. Let's bring this up. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Here it goes. Let's talk about it. This is big. Here we go. Okay. Now, take a look on your screen, folks. This is the breakdown of owned studios. This giant half on the bottom, which is literally as much or potentially just under. If you can see it on the screen, I'm gonna see if I can blow up the screen here for us. Look at all those studios that Embracer Group owns. compared to, let's say, Take-Two
Mhm.
or EA or Sony. Sony seems to be the smaller one of the group, and Microsoft specifically. Microsoft on the top versus on the bottom, Embracer Group. That's something to be really to be had for sure. And it really does bring in the conversation of, I don't understand why they would actually have a problem with it, simply because they own that big of the pie.
Right.
And those are all the major players, Fuzzy. What are your thoughts on the announcement of Embracer Group adding now up to 120 different developers? Does that kind of help Microsoft in a conversation where, when they finish this deal, they're only going to be at potentially 34
Mhm.
studios? 34 versus 120. Now, I get it. I get it that it's Activision, it's Blizzard, it's King, and a
Mhm.
lot of the AA studios that are currently owned by Embracer Group. Maybe you can't compare them like apples to apples, but maybe you can compare them to like Granny Smiths and green apples.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? Was that announcement by Embracer Group potentially helpful to Microsoft to kind of put the kibosh on this deal? I mean, like, close the books on this deal?
I think so to some extent. And even though the overall size of some of these companies within the 120 versus the 34 aren't, numbers of the same on the same level as numbers of employees and things, but it goes to show you how many dev studios are out there in this space.
Yeah.
So considering that, like, even in Microsoft's standpoint, two or three of the acquisitions that they made, the original founders of those studios went and started another studio. Like
Yep.
Undead Labs, he went and started another studio. Now, there's some other controversy of what he was doing behind the scenes that may have led to that as well. But nonetheless, there's a lot of times where acquisitions bear new studios because, hey, the original founders, like, you know what? I thought I just wanted to check, but you know what? I really love doing this. And they go and start something else or something along those lines. Or there's a few of them, like the people that made the game The Ascent, they left other studios and like, you know what, we like doing this, why don't we just make our own studio type of deal. So
Yep.
you'll have like a number of veterans start a new studio, and then that, 10 years down the road, that might split off. Like if you look at the ones that did Stalker 2, as well as I forget the name of the other game now, but Metro Exodus, like that they used to be under the same umbrella, and some of those devs left and started their own studio as well. So I think it goes to show how big this industry is just in general. So if you have some of those big players on screen, and it's probably not even really touching half of the studios that are out there in the industry, it, it should at least give them pause to look at things more carefully, as far as, okay, yes, this is a very big deal from a monetary standpoint, but overall the industry is quite healthy, and there are hundreds of if not thousands of studios
Yep.
out there, and publishers are out there. Like these, there's some smaller publishers that don't even make the list, like Annapurna. Even though I don't think they own all the studios of the games that they produce, I think they only own like 3 out of the last 15 that they've published games for, type of deal.
Right.
So there's so many avenues of this industry where somebody like Embracer Group, not saying that they need to be looked at, but it's like, if you're going to really look at somebody on a acquisition spree or a gobbling spree of some of the market and stuff, I would say they probably need to be looked at. But there's just so much room in this industry that even somebody like Amazon or Apple, who are right on the fence waiting to dip their big toe in the pool type of deal, there's plenty of room for even them to grow and be able to be competitive right off the rip type of deal. So yeah, it definitely helps their case as far as it not being a monopoly and such.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that initially that was the big take from a lot of people. We've heard this both in the gaming media as well as our own gaming circles that
Mhm.
we hang out in. That Monopoly, oh my God, they're going to own Call of Duty. It's going to be exclusive. Listen, look, the bottom line is this. I've said this from the beginning. I think Call of Duty going exclusive would be an incredible mistake financially, because you're leaving millions upon millions of dollars on the on the table. Microsoft is, listen, when they announced this deal, like they were spending the 70 billion, they posted a 70+ billion dollar profit. So they literally made the money back. And not this quarter, the quarter before, the quarter when we're talking about when this was announced in January. So, I mean, they made the money back. So this is just them, kind of like, taking the money to the laundry and letting the dryer move the bills. But look, let me thank Gamer by Choice. Drops the first super chat of the day of $5. Thanks so much for that, and thanks for being here. He says, "Do we know if Sony challenged the deal in all of the other countries involved with it? I would assume they did if they spoke like that with Brazil. Yeah, it's safe to assume that the crocodile tears." That they embarrassed themselves, because personally, I think that the way that they were carrying on, to me, seemed a little bit pathetic, out of character, if you will. They're the market leader. They're the leader in the digital marketplace for games sold. Like it's crazy to me. I mean, we're not going to reiterate what was said. You can find that story anywhere. We've talked about it on countless shows. I'm sure that if they said that to Brazil, they probably said it to the FTC, and they probably said it to South Korea and everyone else, and they went in there and they probably just cut and paste the crocodile tears. But I want to talk about the article a little bit more. Again, this article comes the way of one of my favorite sites, VGC, or the videogameschronicles.com. It was posted by Andy Robinson. And this is something else that's pretty interesting, Fuzzy. I want to break this down. He says this in the article: the United States FTC is expected to provide its answer to the proposed deal imminently, while the Competition and Marks Authority, also known as the CMA, which is the UK's equivalent of the FTC, has set a deadline, ladies and gentlemen, for September 1st to give its initial decision on the matter. Listen, I think that what we're going to start seeing, Fuzzy, is in fact the dominoes drop. And once you start seeing big countries, because maybe Saudi Arabia doesn't seem to big country to you, it's a big money moving country. And for them to be the first ones to say that this deal is okay, they have no problems with it, I would imagine that in the coming days, if not later today, maybe tomorrow, maybe by end of week Friday, we start hearing some of the bigger regulatory bodies start to kind of just get in line, because like I said, it's unlikely that anyone is really going to have a problem, especially because Microsoft has been so forthcoming with all of their answers. They've given everyone that has asked for anything, here it is. They've already declared that Call of Duty is going to stay multi-plat, which again I think it's great. And you know what? Look, here's the thing, folks. It's actually a good thing that Call of Duty is going to stay multi-plat, and here's why. Listen to my my crackpot theory. Right now, you're starting to see many PlayStation gamers take a look at what Microsoft is doing. How do you feel about that, Fuzzy?
Oh, as far as when it comes to like Call of Duty being multi-plat, I think when you have a game that you need a good player base to continue the lifespan of it, I think remaining multi-plat is where it's at. I mean, looking at games like Fortnite, I know it may not be the same level or same interest for a lot of people, but having a game where it can be played across many different platforms and cross play, I think is the best way to keep your game in the top 10, let's say, as far as most played. And it just seems like Microsoft making that move, much like, even though I think part of it was already kind of written in the contract for Minecraft, it's a good step to allow that franchise to grow or continue growing. And in the grand scheme of things, it still allows or leaves room for someone to still come into the space and make a first person shooter to kind of compete with it, which there's always going to be somebody that, like, much like they always say, oh, this is a Halo killer. There's always going to be somebody that's going to try and make Call of Duty killer.
Killzone 1 was going to be a Halo killer. Killzone 2 was going to be a Halo killer. And that series is dead. But
yeah. But they could hopefully they bring it back, or at least
I'd like for them to give it a shot, at least again. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because with this whole deal, I want to see Sony get a little bit more on the creative side. As far as, yes, I understand they're going to lose some of their easy money from their PlayStation Store with the microtransactions and things. Maybe as far as the Call of Duty sales for skins and other add-ons. Although they'll probably still get a good number of that. It's just a matter of now more people might possibly buy it on the Xbox side. But in any instance, it may cause them to look and say, like you were mentioning earlier, you know what, we should bring back SOCOM. Hey, you know what, we should probably bring back Resistance and give those things a try. And that
Twisted Metal should come back in the form of a free-to-play game where you can buy skins. And listen, again, I'm not a marketing manager by any stretch of truth, but I want to touch on something you said. And here's what's interesting, folks. Before I was rudely interrupted by UPS because I don't have a full studio yet. Remember, I'm still in my apartment. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. What we are starting to see is people are starting to understand that the inherent value that Microsoft is offering is something that Sony cannot. Will they at some point offer day and date? Potentially. Will they be painted into a corner by what Microsoft continues to do? Well, that's a theory that can go either way. But you have to ask yourself, just thinking about, I mean, again, this is math 101, folks. I'm not a marketing manager, but there is going to come a point where, and I've said this on numerous shows, and I want to bring it up now because, Call of Duty's on the screen. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the number one selling game this year. Now, that is marketed under Sony. They have the marketing rights. From what we understand, they still have the marketing rights until next year. And after that, that's done. It's a done deal. What's interesting with this conversation is if you look at the way the world has literally doubled in price of just regular living, eggs are more expensive, gas is more expensive, child care is more expensive. There's a lot to be said about the current world. And one of the things that we have to understand is that Sony is not budging on charging you $76.43 for a game. EA and Activision and Take-Two, they've all joined the ranks of $70 plus games, and when you factor tax into that, these games are costing you nearly $80. There's something to be said about the importance of this deal for Microsoft simply because the number game is what it is. Microsoft is going to be able to at one point put Call of Duty whatever on its box or boxes. And of course, I'm talking more specifically about the Xbox Series S, which has outdone Sony's PlayStation 5 in this country for 3 quarters, which is equivalent to 9 months. Now, are they now? You can argue, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to argue this. Well, boom, it's because Sony can't get their consoles out. And you might have a point. Is that the stake in the ground? Is it because Sony can't get their consoles onto store shelves? Well, I mean, that's a bit debatable. I mean, I see it posted almost all the time. Wario 64 in the last couple of weeks has been nothing short of a gaming ninja by putting out the links for when GameStop or Walmart or Target was going to have PlayStation 5s. And you could pretty much, I mean, I went to Target over the weekend with Mrs. Boom and her sister, and they had Xbox Series S consoles. They didn't have any PlayStation. They didn't have Series X, but they had S. And it's pretty interesting that they continue to find a way to put those out there. Now, once Microsoft is able to drop Call of Duty current, whatever the current year Call of Duty is, into Xbox Game Pass. And I've said this before, and I think, like I said, anyone from marketing at Microsoft, take the credit. Send me a free controller. That at least send me something. But I can attest that there is going to come a point, Fuzzy, where you're going to see on a billboard, at a basketball game, at a football game, at a baseball game, or where the bleachers are. There's going to say, play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for as low as $5 a month with the family plan. And once that happens, Fuzzy, it's pretty much over for Sony. Their market leadership is going to go right through is going to collapse in on itself, because at that point, Call of Duty. Now, again, I am not sitting here and gonna try to confess that I'm just huge Call of Duty fan. I don't play Call of Duty online because it's just not my bag. I like them. I like the single player stuff. Like I said, I'm an old school, selfish gamer. I like the single player narrative, which is why I would buy Call of Duty. Now, I'm buying Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 because when you pre-order it on Xbox, any version, even the regular version, you get to play the campaign early, which is awesome. Yeah. And that's exactly what I want to play for. I don't play Call of Duty. I don't play Warzone, so it doesn't mean anything to me. But Fuzzy, I'm interested to get your opinion on that. I mean, at some point, do you believe that Sony is potentially going to drop for as low as third place? And I say that because at some point Nintendo is going to keep doing what they're doing, and like right now, Microsoft is in third. They're behind Nintendo. They're behind Sony. There's going to be a point where Sony is going to be behind Microsoft. I don't think that they're outpacing the Switch, whether that be the old one or the new one. I think they could potentially fall to third place. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
I think it'll definitely happen in the US at some point. I think as far as the US market, this is the time I think Xbox, takes the crown again. Like the 360, it was pretty much the market leader in the US. Sony was able to catch up worldwide, mainly in like the UK and Asia, as far as catching up towards the end of the generation. But this generation, I totally believe that Xbox will take that crown. Now, as far as in the UK, I think Xbox is going to definitely give them a better run for their money. Like now, I think they're a little bit further behind in the UK, but it's like within 2 to 3 million, I think, units, if not less. Because I think they're only like 5 million units total behind overall between the Xbox and PlayStation.
It's I think the last stats was Xbox Series X and S had come up with 16 million console sales versus Sony's near 22. It was like 21 and change, but I just for numbers case, it 22 million consoles sold, which is freaking great. I mean, there's no one's, but you're right. When you talk about the overall big picture, this is not the same generation as the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
Yeah, the last generation, it was almost 2 to 1 at a minimum in some areas, and I think in the US it was definitely a 2 to 1 ratio.
2 to 1 here. It was almost 5 to 1 in the UK.
So they're definitely doing a lot better this go around as far as Xbox in general, and I think they do take the market leader position here this generation. Like I said, definitely in the US. They're closing in on the UK and Asia. It's going to be a while before they catch up in Japan directly, but they are doing a lot better than previous generations have done in that region, considering it's moved from more of the home console to a more of a mobile or portable console type of player base. But they're making strides there. So it's one of those things. Yeah, Sony could definitely find itself in some areas in third place without really, having a quick way to change that around type of deal. And I think that's one of the things that they recognize, where they're going to go with those games as a service. They're doing their subscription or rebranding their subscription model, because before with PS Now, they only, I think, topped out at like maybe 2 million subs or 3 million subs previously.
I think that before they did this combination, the most that I wound up having, Fuzzy, I'm pretty sure that was like 3.2 million. And why that's concerning and why it was an issue for Sony that they had to address was, remember, they launched this PlayStation Now way back in like 2014, dude. It was like, years before Xbox Game Pass came out, and Game Pass came out for us here summer of 2017. So they had a 3-year jump on them, and at that point, it wasn't selling, and it hasn't been selling. Now, granted, since they started this new service, I mean, like myself, like I'm a premium tier PlayStation member. Like I said before, I got an email from them for $33. I upgrade my current subscription, which was just a regular one, and I'm good until the 24th of February next year. Now, am I gonna pay the $120? I can't say that I know that right now. If they keep putting games like Stray in there, then I will, because that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I quite enjoyed Stray. I have to finish it, but I'm almost at the end. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, you bring up a tremendous amount of points, Fuzzy. But what I want to do is, first of all, I want to thank Sith Lord for the $2 super chat. He says it's always a good week when Boom has an extra show. Well, that's very kind of you, brother. Thank you for the kind words, of course, the generosity, and appreciate you being here. And you drops a £2 super chat and says Deviation Games will be the PlayStation exclusive FPS maker. Yeah, potentially Deviation Games could step up to the plate. And in fact, do that. What they're going to come out with, I don't know. But I do want to move on to the second topic of what is expected to be only about 60 or 70 minutes, folks. And this comes the way of a good group of people over at PureXbox.com. And this was posted yesterday at 7 a.m. And it says this: rumor, Ubisoft Plus might finally be available on Xbox soon. It was posted by Fraser Gilbert of PureXbox.com, and this is what they had to say in regards to the article. He says, all the way back in January, it was announced that Ubisoft Plus subscription service would be coming to Xbox at some point in the future, and it looks like we're getting closer to its arrival, as a reference to it appears to have been spotted on the Microsoft Store. Now, this news break comes the courtesy of well-known Microsoft Store leaker, and I'm going to butcher this poor person's name, and I'm sorry if I did, but I'm going to try anyway. It's Agora Menti Luma, who has simply posted an image of the Ubisoft Plus symbol appearing to indicate that Microsoft was getting ready to launch the service relatively soon. Now, all we have is speculation at this point. All we have is a bunch of opinions that, yes, we know it's coming for sure, Fuzzy. We just don't know when. But what's happening this week? Well, that would be Gamescom 2022 in Germany. And look, right now, Ubisoft Plus, if you are someone that subscribes to that service on PC, it's £12.99 or $15 US for games, DLC, and all the extras for $15 a month. And you get day and date releases there. It is a deal, especially because Ubisoft does put out a lot of games. They've slowed down over the years, but there were some years they were putting out 6 games. So if you spend $15 a month, by the end of the year, you spend $180 or around $180. That's just 2 games, and you're getting 6 games and all the DLC and everything included. It's a cornucopia, if you will, of gaming goodness. And we are expecting Ubisoft Plus to hit Xbox. It was originally announced that it was going to be a separate service that you'd have to pay for. Though I kind of wonder, Fuzzy, Microsoft is all about, giving their customers more bang for their buck. And I kind of wonder, and I'm going to get your opinion on this, if the reason for this, the deal taking as long as it did, was Microsoft trying to get this to be like an EA Play situation, that you have Game Pass Ultimate, it's just a part of your subscription service at no additional cost. Now, originally, I mean, if remember that they would have to drop the bag at Ubisoft. I can see them doing that for a couple of years. Here's a bunch of money. Let's add this service, because Ubisoft Plus, a smaller scaled version of Ubisoft, I think it's Ubisoft Plus Classics, it's called, on Sony's premium tiers. You're getting a bunch of older games. We're starting to see, like recently, through Xbox Game Pass some of the Ubisoft titles. Where do you think? Why do you think this deal has taken as long as it has?
I'm hoping it's kind of like along what you were hinting to, as far as that they want to have it more like the EA Plus, where it's kind of just rolled in there, even if it's just the smaller like Vault version. But I think Ubisoft, in the grand scheme of things, because we've been hearing that they were considering being acquired or merging with somebody, and then that changes, and then
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Recently, that the latest remarks from the owner, the family, that the Garmel family. I believe I'm saying it wrong, but they said that they're like, even like they're not going to let anyone go above what they can for control over Ubisoft. That's going to be theirs. I think they will get some help, but I don't think they're ever going to sell the company. At least that's what I've read recently.
Yeah. And they're looking for more investors. And I think probably Microsoft is kind of, I wouldn't say that they're giving them a hard deal, especially with the Activision deal kind of in the forefront right now. But they're probably in the process of negotiating, like, hey, we'll help fund a lot of this stuff if you're willing to put this stuff exclusively into Game Pass, and you could still produce it elsewhere and stuff. It's just we want it in Game Pass for like day and date and stuff. So I think there's been a lot of either closed door or behind the scenes negotiating still going on, because I think in the grand scheme of things, from Microsoft's standpoint, they want to make sure that their subscription service, their cloud streaming and everything, especially with Luna kind of looming in the background. And I think Luna had already had like an add-on thing that you could do with Ubisoft. I think they want to make sure that they have the better deal, or at least have the better value in comparison. So that way, not only their consumers will be happy to continue subscribing, but they can still draw more people in. So I think a lot of it has just been, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, trying to get the best out of the situation, something that works well for Ubisoft, something that works well for Xbox. And, I think they just want to make sure when they announce something, not that it breaks the internet or anything like that, but I think they want to make sure that, everybody that's already subscribed to Game Pass will be like, yeah, I'm glad they waited and got, this deal put together, or the things that this deal entails put together, the extra perks and so forth. So I think a lot of that's just kind of, the negotiations, let's just say, prolonging it.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I mean, look, this is going to be a big deal. I don't know what the chat thinks. Would you pay additional monies for Ubisoft Plus? If you had to purchase it, because a lot of people don't dig what Ubisoft is putting down. Where I'm a huge fan of Ubisoft. I really enjoy games like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and The Division and things like that nature. A lot of people, like, oh yeah, they're kind of the same, but they've been that way for years. I get it. If that's how you feel, I can't argue with you. But the game definitely, those types of games resonate with me. So if I was asked, Fuzzy, to pay an additional $15 a month, as if I would on PC, I would just pay it. I would buy the year of whatever it is. Hopefully they offer you some sort of a discount, and that would be awesome. That would be awesome, because I would jump on it. But what would be even more awesomer, if that's even a word, is the fact that Microsoft found a way to incorporate Ubisoft Plus, the standard, the actual real one, not the classic one that's on PlayStation, actual full on, hey, you're getting games day and date like you would with Microsoft first party. All the DLC is included. All of the bonuses are included. That would be, I don't know how they could do that, but that would be the ultimate drop the mic moment for Microsoft, because like I said, they already have EA Play. And even though EA games don't drop in their day and date, what you do get in there is 10-hour trials. You do, and achievements unlock and everything. You do get a discount on the game if you buy said game, which is pretty cool. And eventually, if you are not someone that's willing to drop the money on it from whatever reason that may be, it's just not on top of your list. You don't feel that it's worth it. Maybe money is, like for a lot of people during 2022, it's a bit of a hardship you wait for it to drop into the EA vault, and then you play it for absolutely free. But this is going to be a big deal. Either way, I think it's a win-win personally for gamers, because EA, like Ubisoft Plus has been available on PC for years, and I've always said to me, I felt like it was a way for Ubisoft to get more money to continue to support these games, and I always thought it was a missed opportunity. Let me just thank a couple of people here. Nady Nay drops an outstanding $2 super chat, and he says, it's competition. The best ability is available. I agree absolutely with that. He says, we have Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, it's competition. The best. Okay, I'm sorry. No, he says, hope you and the family are good. Thank you for that, brother. Definitely appreciate the kind words. Remember last week I said, once Sony loses exclusive rights, they will lose up to upwards of $120 to $200 million per year. That's a fact. I remember reading that comment, and you're absolutely right about that. They are going to lose millions. Because, like I said, the thing is this, folks. As gamers, I can't speak for everybody, but the normal, the everyday gamer, they don't want to spend any unnecessary money. And when you take 2022 into account of how expensive living has been, it's hard to suggest that someone that's a casual market gamer, right, someone that buys 3 games a year, whether that be a Madden, whether that be a FIFA, a Call of Duty, every now and again when a first-party Sony game comes out that their friends are talking about, like a Spider-Man or a Wolverine, or something of that nature, a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, it's going to be a hard sell for Sony to ask their fan base to spend $76.43 for a game that on the other guy's platform is $15 a month, or in some cases $5 a month when you start talking about the family plan, Fuzzy. It's going to be really hard for Sony, and I think that the numbers that you see moving forward, they are going to be drastically different for Sony. I really think that they are in a bit of trouble when it comes to, because remember that during that Brazilian the documents that came out, they proclaimed that Call of Duty is one of their most biggest third-party money-making games. And again, when you think about what Microsoft is about to do, or what they're close to doing, they're close to owning Call of Duty. And that game, which once it's in Game Pass, once it's advertised on the boxes of their consoles, which we know, we keep saying that it's just a Series S that is going to potentially go down in price, where there is a world, Fuzzy, where the Series X drops $50.
Yeah,
and that's $450, and the S potentially is $200. Wow, I mean, it's gonna think about this folks. Think about this for a second. I don't know how Microsoft is getting these consoles out. I know there's this talk about, well, they paid extra. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. And if they did, well, it's big business, right? That's what they do. But at some point, do you see Sony dropping their price of their console? Do you see this PlayStation 5 digital dropping down to $299 or $350? I don't, because of the chip situation. Do you see the PlayStation 5 disc version dropping down to $450? Nope. I don't think that's going to happen. But I can see Microsoft doing that. And when you combined, Fuzzy, Microsoft's ownership of Activision Blizzard King, consoles, because right now we only know one console that's dropped in price. Right now you could pick up a Series S for under $250. Like right now you can. I would imagine that come this fall it's going to be $200. And if this deal gets done, like if we start to see, Fuzzy, in the next couple of days, some of the big regulatory bodies start dropping their opinions and articles about how we don't got a problem with it, we're going to let them do their thing. There is a world where, even though the Modern Warfare 2 doesn't drop into Game Pass, because that's a marketing deal that Sony has, that's fine. But just imagine the fever the fever pitch or the firestorm, if you will, when if this deal gets done, let's say early October, right before the next Call of Duty gets dropped. Right. Again, reiterate on it. Sony has the marketing rights, but when you can turn around and put a press release out there that every Call of Duty in the past, whatever, is dropping into Xbox Game Pass, that is going to freaking move mountains of people to Xbox. Now, it may not be there. You're not going to get PlayStation people to start burning their PlayStation 5s in their garages or in the front of their homes. At least I hope not. But there is a world where, okay, I'm not getting Call of Duty current in Game Pass, but they just dropped 15 Call of Duties in there, including last year's. Holy shit, I'm going crazy. And they're going to move that audience over. What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get everyone out of here.
Well, I know this kind of worked for me. Like it's one of those things. Once you see that you can get a better deal at the other platform, and let's say some of your friends are already switching over to that platform, the game is cross play. You don't have to worry about possibly buying some of the either the Call of Duties that you missed or any future Call of Duties because they'll be in that service. Hands down, you're probably going to, I wouldn't say overnight switch your ecosystem, but you're definitely going to start looking at that ecosystem. And as you build your friends list and you see there's more and more, co-op and multiplayer games that you enjoy playing over there, then you just start making all of your future purchases there. So it's definitely going to be a shift. It's definitely going to come in I wouldn't say a huge wave, but it'll definitely be a wave of folks that will start switching over. That especially for those that may already have both consoles, if they're not already primarily in the Xbox ecosystem. But I know it worked for me. The fact of how easy it was for game share and cloud saves and just the what do you call them, like the updates and all that stuff without having to pay extra for some of them.
Yep.
It just made it so much easier to stay with Xbox as my primary ecosystem, and I foresee a lot of people doing the same. And I have to give a shout out to one of the guys that's on FSP with me, Lore Master Jasper, was saying like this holiday, if that Series S drops to 200, can you imagine? You could buy 3 of those and potentially that family plan for under the price of a bundled bundled PS5 with disc. So it's like, I know some people will be like, oh, but the graphics aren't the same. A family of let's say 2 or 3 or 3 or more that want to be gaming at the same time, when they have that potential where, okay, $700 could either get us 1 console and maybe 1 or 2 games, or it could get us 3 consoles and a subscription for a couple of months, and then it's just a monthly fee, so we don't have to look at paying $60 or $70 every so often for games. Yeah, I think that's the winning combination. They'll definitely drop this holiday, and people will more than likely eat it up.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you think that you're now just starting to see Microsoft play hardball, you just wait until this deal is done. That's when when Phil Spencer is going to show his Wolverine-esque type of claws, and it's going to be on. Like I said, no one is remotely suggesting that Sony's dead and Sony's going to be out of business. Sony is always going to be a part of the conversation, even at third place. What this deal does is make Sony be better, right? We heard how many people did we hear in the community banging that drum about we want Xbox to compete. We want them to give us a fight. And when they started fighting back, people didn't like it. People were like, wow, this is a monopoly. This is not right. How you keeping the fallout off of my PlayStation or whatever? Mm-hmm. And now they're fighting. Now it's a real slobber knocker, if you will, if you're a fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
And like Deploy in the chat, the Deploy 619 says Series S graphics will continue to get better and better. Yeah, it's an absolute fact. There's going to come a point where it's not going to be as good as a Series X or top line PlayStation 5. It's just not. It's a much smaller, underpowered console. But for the most part, you're getting games in 1440p on the Series Series S. It actually has more 4K games than the actual PlayStation does. Go figure that. You know what I'm saying? So look, It's going to be a very interesting remainder of 2022 for a multitude of reasons. One of which is probably what's getting delayed next, which is sad, but it's a reality. You know, it is what it is. But listen, I will tell you this, because I'm retired, because I can drop a hat and and throw a thumbnail together and get on here to talk to you guys and gals. Anytime we start getting more of this information, you can expect me to do this. I'm glad I didn't have to do it alone with Fuzzy being here. I'm going to keep you up to date. And obviously, the schedule for the rest of the week is 4 additional shows. This happened to be just a bonus one. Let me thank a couple of people that dropped super chats. We just had a big one pop in here. Let me see where it is. Okay, let me go to private chat. Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Good morning, guys. Hope Ubisoft Plus comes to Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I hope that I hope that Microsoft drops the bag and gets the full version of Ubisoft Plus, because it's really gonna put the screws to Sony, so to speak, if all they're getting is the Ubisoft Plus classics. That would again, it'd be one of those deals that money talks. And a good friend of the program, Gotham Guy, drops an outstanding $20 bomb. Thank you for the generosity. He says, I don't know, Boom. Something in the back of my mind tells me that Microsoft will pull the Call of Duty marketing rights from Sony this year to put the game into Game Pass this year, especially after that stunt Sony pulled trying to get the block. You know, it's interesting. It would be. I don't know if they do that, and I'll tell you why. Right now, they want this deal to go through. They don't want any holdups from the FTC. Specifically, Lena Khan is watching. I said, listen, dude, let them have a year. Let them have this year. Who cares? Because, like I said, even if Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remake isn't in Game Pass this year, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But if this deal is done somehow before the end of October and before Black Friday, they could turn around and allow and make the big announcement that every Call of Duty from last year back is in Xbox Game Pass. It's going to move mountains, and all the marketing rights that they have in the world is not going to take away from people talking about, holy crap, 15 Call of Duties just dropped into Xbox Game Pass. And again, that's when you turn around and you start putting some of the older Call of Duty Modern Warfare pictures on the box, and then you turn in Xbox Game Pass. It's a scenario that's likely to happen. If it happens, Microsoft is going to win Black Friday. If this console, meaning the Series S, drops down to $199, oh my goodness, it is going to be on like Donkey Kong. But ladies and gentlemen, that is your special edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am Mr. BoomStick XL. Fuzzy Belvedere, please sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where you can be found on YouTube as not only one of the best drivers in the business, but one that really does have a lot of thought-provoking content. But more importantly, what other shows you on, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, just want to thank you for having me on this morning, Boom. It was awesome, talking about this breaking news along with you today and everything. And man, thank you for everyone that joined us in the chat. It was awesome interacting
almost
with you
500
guys.
People.
Yeah, it was this. A lot of people are definitely looking forward to this news as far as Activision, Blizzard, and stuff with Xbox. And man, I can't wait. I'm hopefully we get something here between now and the end of September as far as we're moving forward and ink is dry, paper's signed, and here's the Call of Duties and Game Pass, at least the ones that they can do per marketing agreements or whatever the case may be. But for anybody that wants to hear my ramblings on anything social media related, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. Also on YouTube, Fuzzy_Belvedere. And then for some of the shows I'm on, definitely check out FSP on Fun Speculations channel, 10 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. Also, Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Double Barrel Gaming. Here with Mr. Boomstick, Web Dave, sometimes Crispy Bomb and Big Cloud. and John Wolf sometimes in the mornings,
And Dreadpool.
and Dreadpool. So that's going to be an awesome time, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some more breaking news between now and then.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
Then later on Friday night, 9 p.m. on Fun Speculations channel with the Xbox Ultimate family. Always a good time. Goes a little left sometimes. More Xbox, well, obviously more Xbox centric, but it's all about having a good time, talking about games we've played and just some of the stuff that we enjoy doing on our Xboxes. And then on Saturday, the Shop podcast with PTK Blam and Pong Soul. And on occasion, we'll have special guests and stuff. And we open up the show to the chat. Ask us questions on anything gaming related, and also go over some of the news of the week and things that we've been playing as far as on our Xbox and other consoles, platforms, PC, and so forth. But thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, brother. Obviously, it would have been hard to listen. If I have to do a podcast myself, I'll do it. But it's much easier when you have someone as skilled as yourself with the information that you brought to today's podcast. To make the conversation fun. To obviously speaking for an hour is tough. I don't know I don't know how the YouTubers that speak by themselves for an hour, how they do it, because you got to drink water. I was drinking my protein shake while you were talking. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making this another successful impromptu Xbox Factor podcast. We will be back at it tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with from the good folks over at Frame a Game, as well as I Still Reign. We have a lot to be talking about, and one of the big topics is after the Death Stranding announcement, how soon before Spider-Man lands on the Xbox? Well, folks, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than you think. And I know there's going to be some boo birds in there that says, nope, they would never do it. I seem to beg to differ, but that's tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow on the new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.